Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm very good. Welcome everyone to Mackmyra's Sunday sessions with me, Emil Reng, live from Stockholm, and then we have the legendary Tristan Stevenson from
Hey, how you doing?
in UK, and the two schmucks. Finally,
yeah,
Mo and
yeah,
Daniel.
Mo.
Tristan Stevenson.
Legends in the business.
Yo,
A great sound. But Tristan, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, yeah.
Tristan, we're
Yes.
waiting for the guys to set up the sound. It's no rush. We'll have some time. We had some technical issues before, but now we're live. How have you been up? What have you been up to? Any marathons last week?
You know what I've been doing? I've been off running actually. I've been cycling instead. I've been on the trainer indoors and just putting in crazy kilometers in front of the TV on my bike. So it's it's not been much running.
Is it like a Tour de France kind of thing?
It's called Zwift. I'm sure some people watching this will be familiar with it. It's like it's like a computer game that you connect your bike to, and as you're cycling, you go up hills and it adjusts the resistance on your bike to make it harder, and similarly down hills, and then you can get all like achievements. It basically combines the sort of addictive nature of exercise with the addictive nature of computer games.
Yeah. Cool. It sounds rough.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah. And Daniel and Mo, what have you guys been up to? Any marathons?
I'm too fat, and I know Tristan has mentioned that the human body is perfectly designed for long distance running, but I care to differ with my specialized human body. I think I'm more specialized to drinking, eating bread that I've baked myself, and loathing humanity. I think those are my specialities. I think that's it. That's about it.
Hey, I mean, I'm pretty specialized in those fields as well, actually.
Well, no one's as curious and as magic as you, Tristan, okay, right? Not everyone's born equal. Jesus. So
Guys, we sent you some Mackmyra bowls 2 weeks ago. No, 1 week ago, right? Or 2 weeks. I don't know.
What was
Have
that?
you been trying them out? Especially you, then, Mo.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, as you can see on the whiskey bottles, a lot of them are half empty. So yeah, we've had some good sessions with them. There's a few of them that definitely are separating themselves from the group that I was like, whoa, these were fucking amazing. And honestly, a part of me was like, is this produced, made, and aged and everything in Sweden?
Yep.
So a part of me was actually like, holy fuck, Swedish people doing whiskey. You know, growing up in Sweden, a part of me was a little bit like proud. You know, I was like, God damn, this is Swedish whiskey. I had no idea.
Yeah, so Mackmyra has been around since like '99, and they released their first things in 2006.
Okay.
But the big thing with Mackmyra is that we sell a lot of casks for people. So if you're a group of guys or girls or whatever, and you want to buy a cask, you buy a cask that would bottle it, and you get like samples every year, and it's a big happening every year for all the cask owners around the world. So that's the thing that we got famous for, but then we have a lot of bottles, as you can see. But the main thing is that we want to do Swedish single malt whiskey. We don't want to do a Scottish single malt kind of style in Sweden. So it's completely Swedish. Everything, all the ingredients and everything is from Sweden. So it's a completely super Swedish product. It's like ABBA, but in a whiskey bottle.
But how do you? So like, I know definitely like, all right, I know you easily know how to define like what an Irish whiskey is, or a Scottish whiskey, or a Japanese. So what would you say that the telltale signs for a Swedish whiskey is?
I think both me and Tristan can answer that actually, because we've been trying them for a lot of Sundays now. But I think the complexity in like the Mack I think you can agree here, Tristan. The Mack is the most like well-rounded of them.
Mack.
And also maybe that one to the easiest to mix cocktails with, but because it was actually made just for cocktail mixing, and I think that stands out because it has a unique touch to it. It is a single malt, but it's also like the hint of a bourbon. It's so many different things, and I think that is like the Swedish single malt kind of thing that you want to go for if you try to explain a bottle for people. Try the Mack first, and then you can go for whatever. Today we're going to try the Svensk Ek. I only have a small bottle because of budget issues here in Sweden.
That was one of my favorites.
Yeah. So we have it on the classic bourbon casks in the beginning, but the 10% is only made with the Swedish oak to give it a totally unique flavor. And Swedish oak is a little bit different because it doesn't have as much vanilla in it, so it's a little bit different. But I think it's
pretty well-rounded. So,
but also
they're cool. You guys are like distilled at the Gravity Distillery. You know, casks made in Inception. Like you make everything sound way cooler than it really like could potentially be. I like that. Good naming, good marketing. Yeah.
But also,
I like marketing here in Sweden.
Well, also, I would say to your point about like what makes it Swedish is, and we've discussed this before, Emil and I think that because there's so many like countries making whiskey now, and gin and everything else, each nation sort of seems to, or each location seems to sort of put its own spin on it, and sometimes I don't even think that's intentional. I think that the kind of flavors of the local culture or whatever like weave their way into the product, like I say, potentially unintentionally. So you know, if you're from the Nordic, or let's say you're from the Mediterranean and you're making a whiskey, right? You might find sort of Mediterranean type flavors weaving their way into the product, and that's not because you know you're using rosemary and tomatoes to make it. It's because when you're blending barrels, you go, I like that one because you've spent your whole life eating rosemary and tomatoes or whatever it might be, you know. And I think that's a lot of the reason why the Japanese whiskies ended up tasting the way it does, and why it sort of tastes noticeably different to us than Scotch, because they have a different palate altogether, and so they're blending to a different flavor profile, not necessarily intentionally.
Yeah. All right. I definitely get what you mean. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, if you want to take it to a level of just like making cocktails, it's the same thing for us when I moved from Scandinavia to Spain and realized how much sweeter people like their drinks there. And then you're like, oh, it's just, you know, you go into a bar and you try some things and you're like, this is way too sweet for me, but still the bar's packed and everyone's loving the drinks. And then that was like, oh, okay, that's maybe just people just had a different, much sweeter palate.
Yeah.
Right, thing. And Swedish people like licorice and...
Licorice is gross, man. Jesus.
Licorice and fish.
Yeah, but I mean, in this one, in Svensk Ek, I get quite kind of herbal like notes to it as well, slightly woodsy, sort of soft herbaceous things, which is something that I, to some extent, associate with Swedish food, I guess, when I start thinking about new Nordic cuisine, and those sort of soft, gentle, smoked, woody notes, and like things like dill and how that plays into the cuisine. And so I think this is probably, as much as any of the ones in the range, pretty representative of what I would now classify as Swedish whiskey.
Well, since I've been brought in here as sort of like the retard, brief me what we're doing here is like just sit down, bring a mic, and they're gonna taste some whiskey that Seth Emil Aring sent us. I'm like, all right, cool. Is it gonna taste like burgers and fries, like his drinks? And then here we go. Suddenly we're having these intelligent discussions, and I'm completely like a fish out of water. So I'm gonna ask the dumb questions. Also, because even though I lived in Scotland for 9 years, I never end up getting into Scotch so much. So that's why I'm actually trying to get hold of Tristan's new book about bourbon, because for some strange reason, I like bourbon more, having never visited a bourbon distillery in my life. What a bellend. Anyway, so what the fuck does Svenskak stand for?
Swedish oak.
Swedish oak.
Yeah.
So it's not
I speak
kak.
Swedish, by the way. Yes.
No, you don't. You're
Yes,
like
I do.
you're like from Kurdistan or some shit. That's not even a real country. Okay, Swedish oak barrels, southern Sweden, cool. 10% Swedish oak. Have you ever done 100% Swedish oak?
Yes.
Do we have one here?
Yes, but it's like we've been mixing both with spruce and pine too. So we did a lot of different things. But Swedish oak, the reason that we can't sell because we don't have that much barrels yet. That's the only reason. And all the because all the barrels that we sell to customers are Oloroso casks or bourbon casks. You can choose like 6 different casks. But in the long run, hopefully we will have 100% Swedish oak. But that has a lot to do with how big we can do them, because they're not as solid as like American oak. So we'll see in the future what we can do with it, and maybe the guys that do the casks here in Sweden are getting a little bit more better in what they can do and make them bigger. So that's for the future. For the future, it will be fucking tremendous. But now we only do 10%, but we can ante up that to like 20 or 30 soon. So Swedish oak will enhance and be more Swedish oak than it is now, which is a fun project, and it will be fun to see what we can do with it. And it's the same with pine and spruce too, to see what we can do and see what kind of flavors.
Okay, so one more dumb question. So the Mack is like your introductory one. You mentioned that earlier, and the Svenskak, the Svensk, yes, that one. This is one that you would prefer to drink neat, or like how do you recommend?
Exactly, yeah. So both me and Tristan will do a cocktail today, what we think you can do with it, but it's like neat, yeah, perfectly. But you know, like when you try svensk rök, which means Swedish smoke, it's super smoky. We talked about that before, both me and Tristan, that it has that smoky notes that maybe a classic single malt has from Scotland. It's more like a Swedish barbecue.
Yeah, so I grew up in Luleå, way north in Sweden, and I tried that one, and I was like, "Holy fuck, is this a Swedish smoky whiskey?" And when I tried it, immediately it took me back, because you know when you grow up there in the north, within school you have to go out to the forests and do like those orientation classes in the forest and all that kind of stuff. And it immediately I started thinking about being out there in the forest. It was like this super Swedish, smoky kind of like flavor and feel to it. Let's see if we can find it. I'll give it a go.
But also, like when you grew up in Sweden, you also like realize that all the flavors that we have in Sweden is so much smoky notes to everything. Like ham on breakfast, we smoke it. All the fish, we smoke everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Even joints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. No one.
That's a new.
But Tristan, what cocktail will you do today?
Changing the subject, right?
This is smoky one. So we're trying.
You don't want to go down that route of inquiry, no? Okay, strange.
Don't you think B-style whiskey could be a thing? I'm sure some Californian startup tech head is going to be like,
they do it. They do CBD beer. They don't do CBD whiskey.
I'm just waiting for some American wannabe.
CBD hard spirits would be a hard sell, but a CBD beer is like, hey, have this after work.
Yeah.
Never even had
right.
Moving on, Tristan. Yes, fantastic.
So this is super simple this week. Last time when we did Svenska Ek, I was sort of arguing for it reminding me a little bit of like juniper, and like I was getting that herbal thing, and so it was just a way of shoehorning it into a martini basically. So I did a kind of martini stroke Rob Roy type drink, and this week I was like, I was going to do something similar, but I was thinking about what I could switch up the vermouth with to make it a little bit more interesting. And then I remembered this, which you can see there, 3 Spirit, which is a non-alcoholic spirit, which I actually consulted on. So I helped them design the recipe for it. And it is you wait till you see what it looks like. Let me get rid of this.
Is it taste better than Seedlip?
Yes.
Well, look, just look at it, okay?
Ah, okay.
Damn.
That's a wow. Okay.
That's
Yeah, it's
thick.
dark, it's cloudy. So it's got a lot more flavor than Seedlip. I would describe it as it's sort of Benedictine, but also there's mushroom in there, so it's got a slight kind of umami mushroom savory kind of thing to it as well, and apple. So it's sort of fruity, slightly spicy, and chocolatey as well. So all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, it serves as it serves really good. You can mix it with ginger beer or soda as a non-alcoholic drink, but it's also really good in replacing things like sherry and vermouth and bitters or whatever in cocktails. So the drink I'm doing is, let's try this.
Oh, that's really good.
The drink I'm doing is super simple. It's I guess kind of a Rob Roy Manhattan, but I'm not even bothering with bitters because this has got a bitterness to it. So I'm just going to do 2 parts of the Svenska Ek and 1 part of this, and then stir it down over ice, and that's it.
Easy as.
Dope.
All right. That's quite cool.
This is how we do it.
See, it's not actually hard to innovate if you think about it. Just do good things.
Yeah.
Just make.
This is good shit.
What's the retail price for your non-alcoholic spirit, Benedictine?
So we don't measure on this. You got that on the camera? Yeah. So about 25 ml. It looks like cold brew coffee or like espresso martini in liquid form, but tastes like chocolate and mushrooms.
Do you have it on export, Tristan, or is it only UK?
No, you can get it at 3spirit.com, I guess, and I'm pretty sure they send it everywhere around the world.
Okay, Emil. I mean, that's a good fucking segue into how do people get Mackmyra around Europe? Is it available? Is it only in Sweden for the moment, or is it available all around?
So it's available everywhere, and since we're talking about where you can get it in the UK, it's growing in popularity, and we have our own homepage called mackmyra.co.uk, when you can go in and buy it, and we have our own web shop.
Alex, baby.
So you can go in and buy everything there, but then we also have, like, if you're in Spain right now, you can actually buy it from Mackmyra.de in Deutschland. In Deutschland, and then get it from there, because the whole thing with setting up the Sunday sessions, why we're doing it is because it's the easiest way to actually talk about Mackmyra all around the world. But it's also like, if you buy a bottle from the Mackmyra.de shop, you actually can get a discount for the Svenska Ek this time, and that discount goes back to Schmacks.
Hell yeah!
So we actually get something out of it. And the same with Tristan. You put it in when you go into mackmyra.co.uk, and you get a discount, and the discount code is BlackRock, and that discount goes directly to BlackRock.
I can't believe.
So we actually give something back here.
Wrote into this completely against my will. There's no give Dan money, he's unemployed discount.
This is how two schmucks succeed. This is how two schmucks succeed. How's the drink, Tristan?
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's good. I mean, you just have to take my word for it.
I'm not gonna lie, the color's super cloudy brownie sort of thing.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely cloudy. We would just call it a louche, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which legitimizes the cloudiness.
Nice. Looks great. So everyone, if you want to give something back to Tristan, buy some more Svensk Ek from mackmyra.co.uk, and the discount, as we talked about before, will go directly back to BlackRock and helping them out in these tough times.
Guys, support your local curious bartender and support your local schmuck. While he's fucked off to make a drink, I actually got a couple of questions because I've got a role to play as the clown. So, like, can you tell me a bit more about the brand in terms of how you started? Because it's all nice and good. You've got a smart-ass Swedish Kurdish guy. You've got your most curious bartender in the world, long-distance runner. You've got you, fries and fucking Well, I have no idea. So can you tell me a little bit about Swedish brand? Okay, cool. $9.99. How did it start? Why? Why Mackmyra?
So it was. So back in '99, Magnus, which he's kind of he was CEO for all these 20 years, but now he stepped down and just working with the marketing bit and how we should come out to different parts of the world. So he and a bunch of friends was having a pretty wet dinner somewhere in Sälen, which is like the Swedish Alps. And they probably got shit-faced and just came up with the idea, why can't we do a Swedish whiskey? Why haven't someone ever done this before? Because we have all the ingredients that we need. But we just need, because it's a hustle in Sweden too, to actually get all the licenses and everything. So it's hard to actually not make just aquavit or vodka. It's a hustle. So it took a lot of years for them just to get all the license done and just starting to distill. So the first small distillery just made, I don't know, small. You see some photos there. It looked like a Swedish dance band.
That's an album cover right there, isn't it?
Yeah. So they started doing that, and the first one, Preludium 01, they put it on the barrel in 2001, and then it was released in 2006, and it sold like 160,000 bottles the first week, which is insane. What?
Welfare.
Swedish welfare. Okay,
Yeah, it's the greatest welfare system in the world.
No, so back in 06, so they started to get a name for themselves all around the world just because it's a Swedish single malt whiskey. It's a little bit like when the Japanese started to make whiskey. It was a big buzz in the beginning, and then it has fallen a little bit, but now they're back on track, and all the, I think like the most important thing for us at Mackmyra is that we work a lot with casks and the whole thing around that, so you actually can make your own whiskey. And it's super easy. If you go into like Mackmyra, Mackmyra's homepage, you can go in, choose what kind of barrel you want, how you want the bottles to look and everything, and it takes like 5 minutes to create your own brand, which is a super cool thing to do. And it's not that expensive. Like if you're a bunch of friends, you just want to share an experience together, you share an experience together. That's what we've always been doing here. But
Biscuit, that's a game. Share an experience together. That's very good.
Yes.
You can Google
We're doing this now. It's an online experience now.
We're going down that road.
Okay, so what are you making today, Mo?
Right. So I thought that I tried the smoky whiskey, and I love smoky whiskey cocktails. I love the rapscallion. That's one of my all-time favorite cocktails.
What's a rapscallion, Mo?
A rapscallion is like Lafroy or Lagavulin with some Pedro Ximénez and absinthe. So it's like made like a Manhattan, but like PX instead of the vermouth, and then absinthe, I guess, instead of the bitters. I still add bitters to it though. So I thought, I took the shit that I have in my kitchen, which isn't much. I have an Italicus bottle, which I'm going to use as like a sweetener, and I have this from Germany, from coffee eau de vie, and it's very little left, but I think it's just enough. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, the good shit, the malt and stuff, and then I'm gonna add some white balsamic vinegar for just a little bit of acidity.
And I'm not gonna taste it because that sounds very aggressive.
I think it's gonna be good. I'm gonna make two.
It sounds a bit like salad dressing.
Here's the thing, though. It is salad dressing. Here's the thing, though. I think that
says the guy who's drinking mud in a glass, flying off salad dressing. It's a Dolce & Gabbana perfume bottle. What are you talking about? Sunday sessions. I haven't had breakfast. What am I doing here?
Here's the thing, though. I don't have any ice, so we're gonna go with that trend from 5 years ago of making room temperature cocktails. I hope that it works out good for us with this drink.
It's okay. Salvatore free pours as well. Don't worry, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's the Maestro style.
We don't have triggers.
Mo does things very slowly. Okay, so you guys were an independent bottler. You guys can customize your own casks. That's how you survived. You got this band name thing. And Tristan, how did you become involved with Mackmyra? How do I say it? Mackmyra?
Well, I became involved when there became a global pandemic.
Great.
Yeah, back in the spring of 2020, if you cast your mind back, there was
You've
this.
lived through that. That's fucking amazing.
No, Emil literally just asked me to come and join him for these Sunday sessions, and now he can't get rid of me, so I'm just part of the furniture.
No, that's cool. That's whatever. In between runs, right?
But also, like Mackmyra, it's also like our biggest export. Our biggest export is UK, which is huge for us, but it's also Germany is growing in popularity because all things in Germany, which is Swedish, and I'm talking about mousses and whiskey, they like it. They love it. So we got a lot of German tourists going to Gävle and see Mackmyra.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Germans are coming. The Germans.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
They always are.
I got a bottle of Diet Coke, so if this thing doesn't work out, we'll just add Coke to it.
Sure.
I hope it works out. It will work out.
Everything takes better. This is actually an advert for Coca-Cola. Please put Mo on the next bottle series.
God damn it.
Okay, cool. All right. So while Mo this is actually the speed at which Mo makes drinks at 2 schmucks. This is why he has to hire bartenders, and he doesn't go behind the bar anymore because otherwise they would make no money. This is why 2 schmucks 4 years in hasn't actually become a profitable business. Quick question. I'm looking at one of the bottles here. It's the Mackmyra Gronte Swedish. Yeah, that one, right? Obviously. Yeah. And I see at the back here it says like green tea and Oloroso and
yeah, exactly.
More about this particular expression.
So actually, the first Sunday session we did, me and Tristan, was actually with Grönte, which means just green tea. So it's the classic Swedish single malt that we've been doing, but we put it down on green tea casks that you had green tea before. So we're actually working with a tea blender in Sweden called Yoko Ono.
Yoko Ono. That's his
yes.
name. Is that her name? Is that they?
It's her name.
Yoko Ono. That is her name.
Yeah. So she's the master tea blender here in Sweden, she's super famous because they work totally different from everything else, and they own all the tea plants.
On Google, that is Google SEO nightmare. Yoko Ono. You're just gonna get Lennon getting shot is gonna come up. Yes. Yoko Ono, the tea blender. That's gonna be on your card. Hi, I'm Yoko Ono. Sorry. The tea blender.
It's great marketing.
Not the one that ruined John Lennon's life. I'm the tea blender.
Exactly. Not the one that gets caught on like live streams screaming on a microphone out of tune. Sorry.
Okay, so here's what I did. I think that drink was actually pretty good. And I added 2 tablespoons or just a little bit of water to it. I made 2 drinks and I put it in the freezer. So
I thought you were going to say you put it down the sink.
Yeah. That was a really good drink. No one deserves that drink. It's so good. I had it thrown away.
No, well, I figured if I add some water to it and put it in the freezer, I have the dilution, I have the fucking temperature, and then we'll try it right before. I mean, we'll give it 10 minutes, I guess, and then let's try it.
It'll be -5 in 10 minutes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's in plastic, right? Which can.
The only thing I'm doing today with Svensk Ek, I'm going to also do a cocktail because that's why we're doing the Sunday sessions, because we like to drink, as you know. So Svensk Ek, only the small bottle today, but I will use the whole bottle instead, which is very, very good.
I've measured anything.
No, that will not fit in the glass. It looks ridiculous. So sake.
Okay.
So equal parts sake and whiskey.
Nice.
I like that both the route of building a drink. It's like, I'm not doing any work. What is this? Just once a week, just pour something of salt. Okay, yeah. Salt Bay. That's a lot of salt. That's a lot.
Well, if you like licorice, you gotta like salty shit.
Yeah. I was just complaining about the Savoy, about them putting saline solution on their menu descriptors, and you just put in like a handful. There's more salt. There's enough salt in that to make a scrambled egg. Like, fucking hell.
Who doesn't like scrambled eggs?
Who doesn't? He fucking got you there.
Really good. This is like the real breakfast martini.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the one with the marmalade.
Well, you mean the what was it? The Marmalade Cocktail from the Savoy Cocktail book. That was a big one. Yeah, Tristan knows. Tristan knows. That original.
Do you know, I once had an hour-long phone conversation. You can imagine how these things go on for a long time with Salvatore about the Marmalade Cocktail, trying to get out of him whether or not he knew about it before inventing the breakfast martini.
Let's be honest.
But no, he denied having ever read the Savoy Cocktail book.
But there's I should write that. I read the Devil's Acre from fucking this dude writing about.
I love that book. You told me about that.
Yeah, the Devil's Acre about the San Francisco cocktail scene and how it grew up. And you know, there's a segment in that talking about basically the gin basil smash from 2 years before it was, you know, made in Germany. And it was like because like San Francisco came up and they were known as making salad drinks because they started putting all these fresh herbs in their drinks, you know. And so like there was like a restaurant bar in 2006 that just made what we now know as the gin basil smash, but it has like lime instead of lemon or something like that, lemon instead of lime. But I think, you know, most drinks that come up and become like, I mean, there's a lot of drinks that you can trace back to way before they were actually made known, right?
Join us next Sunday on Drinks Busters as we uncover the grime of
Drinks Busters is an amazing fucking idea for a show.
You admire fraud or genius. Salvatore Calabrese.
Well, you're right. I mean, the thing is, if you can find a recipe for like a more modern drink that's done really, really well in the past, then no one's fucking heard of it. So in that case, credit where credit's due for the modern version of that drink that's become famous, you know?
Yeah.
There's a similar thing with the Cosmopolitan. I can't remember what the name of the drink is, but there's a 1920s or 30s drink, which is basically a Cosmopolitan.
Anastasia and Jared Wikipedia that shit and put it
Yeah.
The Prohibition drinks, and there was like a version of it, wasn't it?
It's Jared that was talking to me about it, actually. But doesn't have the flaming orange zest.
That's game changer, right there.
Yeah.
Bit of burnt oils around my rim.
Yo, how's the drink, Eric?
He hasn't touched it because it's too salty. All the flavor is out there, and you chose to be salty.
Yeah,
I think we're talking
salty, but it's good.
So,
a bit salty.
Add a bit of salad dressing, you'll be all right. Or some mushroom chocolate maceration, but that's made with spirit.
We have a whole continental breakfast here for you guys.
I feel that we should have Dan make a drink because he's shitting on everyone, and now we need to start shitting on him.
Only Dan will be doing
that's an immediate disadvantage.
The role of shitting on everyone, but then it's like now it's his turn, and then what like he's gonna make like a milk syrup or a fucking, you know, I know what he's gonna do with whatever.
Don't put yourself out there, you won't get criticized. You know, there's a very famous like you don't have to step forward to be a hero. Everyone else just needs to step back.
So guys, will you be joining us next Sunday too?
Fuck yeah, man. We'll be here. Wait, I'm gonna take the drink out the freezer and we're gonna try it. And
yes,
I got a judge here to see if it's good or not.
I'll be honest. Well, okay.
Have you got some lettuce leaves ready, Dan?
I don't like this image that suddenly everyone's cultivating me. I had some guy send me a message like, "Oh, can I put it on your toxic blog?" I'm not toxic. I'm just fuck you guys.
Toxic.
No, you just show your old pandering fucking. It's a massive circle jerk. No, everyone's scared to be honest.
So I think it's.
This plastic has conducted in 10 minutes. Loads of temperature change cold. That's gonna be minus 2 degrees.
Hey man, it's a pandemic. Salute.
Smells like vinegar. That's better than I expected. That could
right? That works, right?
I would say if you had that chilled, you could do a white line, have that chilled, and just put it over a block of ice. But and then take just as long as you did to make it, because fast service.
Well,
So yeah, it would be good.
It's not that bad, is it?
I wonder why I closed.
No, I mean the drink.
I would really white line? Yeah, it's definitely that bad. No, I would. I would genuinely rip into him. I have no reason to be here, so I have genuinely rip into him. It's actually really
so next Sunday, Tristan, Dan, and Mo, we will be focusing on Svensk Rök, the Swedish smoke.
The smoky one.
So we will talk about that and how to work with it, both in cocktails, but also have a lot of sipping to it.
Wait,
and I mean a lot. What?
You're allowing me back?
Yes.
Oh, cool. I'll prep this time.
It will be a shorter session. You will only be on for 2 minutes. You can't fuck it up in 2 minutes.
You can have me as the fat dude in a talk show that sits in the corner and just makes comments.
For next week, we all got to prepare.
Well, you think you want that this week?
Black is slimming, motherfucker. I'll go for a 15-mile marathon and tell. Do you and Jack McGarry just have share Nike run statuses every 2 days? I outrun you.
No.
He still one-ups you because he's a very famous sober forever, right?
Yeah, I can't claim that, unfortunately.
Yeah, don't go down that route. There's no.
A couple of years until you claim it.
Okay, so
guys,
focusing on different. Okay, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for today. I'll see you next Sunday, same time.
Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah.
I will do Svensk Rök. So great to see you guys, and I'll see that you all look good.
Thank you.
Also, you, Dan. You look great.
Thank you guys so much for having us. Thank you.
All right, take it easy, guys.
See you guys. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
I can take over this gangs.
Right. Catch you later, man.